Hello and welcome to this AeroTime interview as part of our special week dedicated to pilots. My name is Martin Popplewell and I'm delighted to be here to interview a number of captains and first officers during this week when we mark International Pilots Day. We'll be bringing you some special reports and interviews from across the world as we take a deeper look into the role of pilots in our world today. Today I'm speaking to Captain Zoya Sapra Agarwal, who's a pilot with Air India. Captain Zoya has an extraordinary passion for flying and has overcome many obstacles to follow her dreams. As an 8-year-old girl, she would watch jumbo jets and would imagine flying them. Zoya grew up with limited means and fought against the odds in a predominantly male environment. She still remembers spending long hours at night studying outside under street lights, working tirelessly towards making her dream to fly come true. Her resilience and her determination led her to become the youngest woman commander in India to fly a Boeing 777. She's amassed more than 10,000 flying hours. On the 9th of January 2021, Zoya made aviation history by flying one of the world's longest air routes between San Francisco and Bangalore with an all-female flight crew. Since then, she's made it her mission to inspire all the young girls and women who dream of flying to make their dreams a reality. Zoya, thank you for joining us and bringing your story to AeroTime. What inspired you to become a pilot? What brought you into aviation in the first place?
Hi, Martin. Thank you so much for having me on this platform to be able to share my story with so many young girls, the youth, the billions of women who are watching out there who can see me and my journey and maybe think that if she can do it, I can do too. So let me start with my story. What inspired me? There used to be this 8-year-old girl, Zoya, who used to sit on top of her terrace. I had very humble beginnings. I came from a very moderate family where we did not see a lot of money growing up. And I was the only child of my parents. Growing up back in that era where being a girl, you were expected to focus on your studies and get married, have children, look after your family. And that's pretty much the work that you're expected to do. And that exactly was expected out of me. But this 8-year-old Zoya had dreams. She had visions for herself. And when I used to sit on top of my terrace, I used to do a little stargazing. I was obsessed with stars. And I would see those tiny jumbo jets flying amongst them. When I used to see them, I used to trace those strobe lights and I used to wonder, Zoya, could you ever fly one of those beautiful flying machines? And this inner voice was really powerful, who wanted to do everything, who wanted to go out there and conquer the world. But then the realistic Zoya, she was realistic. She used to tell Zoya, it's impossible. You can never fly an airplane. I mean, look at where you come from. Look at your entire environment, which is absolutely against the very thought. You can't dream. You're not allowed to dream. It's a taboo to even think in that direction. But that 8-year-old Zoya was pushing her. She's like, Zoya, you can do it. You can do it. All you got to do is dream it. And that's where the story started from. And I'm so glad that 8-year-old Zoya kept on pushing me because she wanted to go near the stars. She wanted to go and touch the stars. So from there, today here, I am talking to you, Martin, on this platform.
I wonder if there was opposition along the way. Did the people who said you can't do that because you're young, you don't come from the right background, or whatever explanations they may have given you for not being able to do it, did that make you actually think, I'll show you, I'll prove you wrong, I'll disprove your cynicism? Did it actually drive you on?
Well, yes and no. Yes. Because I still remember when back in the days, and even now, if you want to become a pilot in a place like India, you have to take science in your 10+2, which is your 11th and 12th grade. And I took 2 because academically, I was always inclined. I used to love to study. When I took science, my school teachers told me, knowing fully well of my background, Zoya, it's a waste of a seed in the science subjects. Why don't you just do something more towards arts? Because in any case, you're going to probably lead a domestic life. You'll learn something more over there, which is more suited to your domestic life rather than wasting a seat in the science background. So think about it, it's very unlikely you'll ever be able to make it as a pilot because of your background. So we want you to double think your thoughts and go. So I went home that day. I still remember, because just to be told that thing, Martin, from your teachers was heartbreaking. It broke my heart. I was a 16-year-old kid. And, it's one thing to have your family against you, but now the very system that is defining you, because when you're a kid, what support system do you have? Your parents, your teachers, right? And to a certain degree, your friends, but mainly your parents and your teachers. When I did not get that support from my teachers, I went back home and I cried. The entire day, I sat on the same terrace and I cried that day. That was my weak moment. And I listened to, at those times, we used to have something known as Walkman in India. The good old days where we, the little box where you used to
unfortunately, I remember them probably better than you, because they were more and more, they were new technology when I was around, which I suspect they weren't for you. But carry on. I do remember Walkman.
So I used to have one of them, and I remember listening to the song called Hero by Mariah Carey. When the hero comes along, gives you strength to carry on. And you can survive. Because that was a day when I realized that I'm going to hear a lot of things in this world, but I have to filter it out. I don't have to take every single thing that comes my way as an input. Because if I start doing that, I'll never be able to achieve my goal. So I let my fear out of the tears, which were coming out of my eyes. That was the day I look forward, and I'll never look back from there. I said, no, Zoya, you're going to try, you're going to do it. You're going to give it your best shot, because you know what? In life, you got to give every single thing your best shot, because if you don't, you're not being true to yourself. God has given you this one life. You got to make that one life count. You cannot let that lead on to you. You have to lead the life, So that was that. And then, of course, why? Because my parents were also there, who were against the very idea of me becoming a pilot, because it's not their fault. My mom comes from a background where she had 4 other siblings growing up, where all that she was taught by her mother was to grow up, get married, have children, look after them. She expected the same out of me. And our financial background was not so great to support pilots training or even to envision my dreams as a pilot. We were not so liberal. So my parents didn't propel me towards that direction to be a rebel. But yeah, my other challenging situations, my environment did. And that's what probably propels me, like you said, even more forward.
Have you encountered sexism along the way? I mean, it is a very male-dominated sector.
It is. And in all honesty, I was the 5th girl in Air India, 4th or 5th girl to join. I was amongst a handful of the pilots, girl pilots when I joined in the youngest. And when I joined in, I was, like 0.0001% of the girls. And today we are sitting at 12.4% in India, in the airline industry. Yes, global stats are still far to catch up. We still have a long way to go, which is where Richard and we want to work together to increase the global statistics, because there's going to be a huge demand for pilots. We'll come to that later. But yes, so for me, there was a huge thing of sexism initially to start with, because there were no such places for women available so easily. A lot of airlines would not even consider hiring women pilots. They would not even take women pilots as late as 2016. And I'm talking about leading carriers, Martin, leading carriers in the world. The 2016 batch, the first batch, one of the leading airlines took, they started flying the lady pilots as late as 2019. We're just talking about 2 years back.
Did they
Coming
give any
from there,
explanation as to why they weren't taking women on?
yes, because firstly, women, we play a dual role, right? We have a profession, yet we also have to manage the life at home with respect to having children, because biologically, by the grace of God, this is a woman's role in this world, right? So when you're playing the dual role, if we have to go on maternity leave, because as a pilot, you cannot fly when you're expecting beyond a certain time. And after that, you have to go on maternity leave. So when you go on maternity leave, you are off your work for an extended period of time. Now, when you extend off work for an extended period of time, when you go back to work, this is not like a normal profession where you go back to work, you can work from home, you go back to work and you're good to go. It's not a textbook profession. It's a very critical profession where there is no room for error, which is very, it's a very, very responsible position to be in. So you have a lot of training, which is expensive. You're talking about jets, which cost $375 million and so on and so forth. So for that, to get training and to get recurrent, as far as the training is concerned, it's very expensive for an airline to support for a woman pilot time and time again, which is why airlines weren't very welcoming to the idea of lady pilots to start with. But unlike a lot of other countries which were not accepting women at all, where I came from, India was a lot about equal opportunities, although the percentages were low because of the kind of family systems that I belong to. So similarly, a lot of other women also belong to similar cultures where the family support system wasn't such that they would promote their daughters to go out there and become a pilot. But an airline like Air India was an equal opportunity employer, even back in, I'm talking about 17 years back, which is huge. So yeah, there was a fair amount of sexism, but I think things are changing now. So I'm really happy about that.
Was there also encouragement along the way? Were there individuals who you would particularly point to remember who were supportive?
Yes, absolutely. Like in my airline, I had so many flight instructors. So Martin, when you sit on the position of a commander or a first officer, the chair, the seat does not know who's flying it, whether it's a boy or whether it's a girl. It's a responsibility. It's a profession. It's a position that you have to rise to with your hard work, with your dedication, and you have to prove yourself because it's a skill-based profession. And you have to be at the skill, whether it's a boy or a girl, you have to perform similar way. There's a least limit that you have to be at, all of us. So when they used to see my dedication and my determination, and considering where I came from and how hard I had to fight to get there, they would encourage me because, I was like this little kid. I was seen from an image of a, very young girl who joined and who was very enthusiastic. I have always been very driven and enthusiastic about whatever I have done in life, because it's just, I feel if you feel strongly for what you do, it just makes it so much more positive and you enjoy it so much more. And I have always enjoyed doing whatever I've done. And I've given it my, not just 100%, I believe in giving my 1000%. So I think a lot of people saw that and, they were really encouraging towards me. So I'm really grateful for so many people who have encouraged me along the way. And even my parents after a certain amount of time.
You recently became very well known for having completed that 17-hour flight from the States to India with an all-female crew. Mm-hmm. What was the background to that flight for those people that don't know that story?
The background to that flight is that this flight we were trying to do for the longest of time. And when you fly over the North Pole, there are a lot of factors which a lot of people don't know about, which are very technical. And also we are heavily rely on the weather gods, so the weather gods have to shine upon us the day we have a polar flight. For the very same reason, on the 9th of January, when we were supposed to take off for this flight, we did not know for sure we're going to follow the polar route or not. So we were trying to accomplish this mission in Air India for the last 1.5 years. Last year on 2020 Women's Day, I was supposed to command this flight over the North Pole. However, it did not work out because of some weather issues towards the end. And because of that, we had to kind of postpone it to a future date. This flight has been very, very close to my heart personally. I'll tell you for a few reasons. So the reason number one is time saving. We saved 1 hour and 5 minutes of time as compared to a normal route on this sector. We saved 10 tons of fuel, 10,000 kilograms. Can you imagine the amount of money that you save on that? Third, carbon footprint. The most important, I think, because time and money, you can make up for in one way or the other. But if you're deteriorating our planet Earth, we cannot take back from there. We have to be conservative right from the word go within our own roles. So for me, having a greener planet to be able to leave a good future for our future generations is super important. So this flight was very, very close to me for all these factors. And I've been trying to work on it one way or the other. And I got an opportunity to push forward this flight on the inaugural of San Francisco to Bengaluru. It was an ideal opportunity because you have two antipodes, connecting from San Francisco to Bengaluru. There are two diametrically city pairs on the Earth. So this was ideal for that route. So our airline has been extremely supportive of all these factors and to go forward women empowerment and to push greater boundaries. And that's exactly what we did. Our government of India, our ministry, we all did this together and we made this flight happen. I was just a mere orchestrator. I had this whole amazing team behind me, actually. So I'm just like this tiny drop in the ocean who's talking to you.
I think you might be talking yourself down, but we'll let that one go. It's been a tough time for aviation this last 12 months.
Yes.
How has it affected you both on a professional level and a personal level?
I will be honest, in India, things are coming back to where they were. Of course, we started with a recent wave, which is a little bit hard, it started last week. It was the new COVID wave. But before that, we had already resumed almost 80% of our pre-COVID. 80% is huge. So in India, we were impacted lesser, like all our flights were going full. We even started more routes in Air India post-pandemic, not post-pandemic, like after the start of this year. So we in India got lesser impacted. However, a lot of my friends, it was heartbreaking for me to see across the world, they lost their jobs. So pandemic has definitely impacted the global aviation, not in a great way. But I do see the demand coming back because people, like all of us, we have been pretty much locked up inside our homes for the right reasons, right? For the safety of us, our families, our loved ones. And I do see people that urge post-vaccination wanting to travel. And we are already in like headlong into vaccination process. Like most of us are getting vaccinated slowly and steadily. So I would give it maybe another year. And then I would see the global aviation demand back with a bang. And as far as the personal level is concerned, COVID has impacted me. I'm a very positive person, Martin. I always try and see everything positively. Like last year, I remember on Mother's Day, I chose to be away from my family, but I volunteered to operate the COVID flights. And I operated the first repatriation flight from San Francisco to Mumbai. It was a very difficult decision for me because that flight came on Mother's Day to be away from my own mom. But, in the greater good, I saw so many moms who were reunited with their children, So when I landed back in Mumbai, I thought I made the absolute right choice because when you see the smiles on so many faces, when you're walking next to them outside the airplane, and when they're crying, they have those tears because that was the first flight after so many months out of the US, and they were all stuck over there, our citizens. When you see those smiles, when you see those tears and that combination of applause, it melts your heart, because you've done the right thing. This is the right thing. This is the best Mother's Day you can ever have, So experiences like these do humble me. And as a matter of fact, as we were talking, both my parents are COVID positive. So it's a very Yeah, difficult time for me right now, but life must go on, and I'm positive, and I'm sure they will recover and they'll fight through this.
I hope so. I certainly hope so. If there was one thing that you could change in the aviation sector in, say, the next 10 years, what would you like it to be?
I would definitely want our women to come up on top, because the statistics right now, what we're talking about globally, is 5%. You only have 5% of girls across the world who are in aviation as pilots. Out of that, 1.24 merely are captains. That statistic needs to change. We have to all work together as a team, because there's, like I was mentioning before, there's a huge demand in the aviation industry by the year 2038 for pilots. And to cater for that demand, we need to prepare our future dreamers now, absolutely now, because we have to promote aviation, go in schools in various countries. Like even in the US, your percentages are really low, like 4.4% is all that we're talking about for women pilots. We have to go out there in the schools, encourage girls, encourage our youth to go follow towards the STEM subjects, because you have to start there to be able to come out on the other side in aviation now by the year 2038. We have to prepare our dreamers now. So I definitely would like to see more girls coming up into the sector, into the aviation fields as captains, as pilots, and equalizing the numbers, just like how pretty much is there in every other sector. Why should the girls be behind being the top aviators?
And what would your message be to those girls if they are suffering doubt and hesitation about whether it's a good career?
You know, this 8-year-old Zoya, who I talk about, she lives inside of me even now. Every day I'm faced with fears. Every day I'm faced with doubts. Every single day, we all are, right? And we all have to overcome our challenges. That is the 8-year-old Zoya who powers me through every single day. She tells me, no, go on, go push yourself. You will do it. Just go do it. I want to tell all those 8-year-olds who are watching right now that if this 8-year-old Zoya kneeled down back in the days of her stargazing because of her environmental pressures, today I would not be here on a platform talking to you. This Zoya will not be there if she got discouraged by her environment. Whenever you face self-doubt, especially in the in the COVID times, and you know, these days are hard for all of us. Whenever you feel that you can't do it, tell yourself, I am possible. And impossible, there is only a way of reading. You only have to change the way you read it. Read impossible as I am possible, because every single reality in this world begins with a great dream. And every single great dream in this world begins with a great dreamer that lies in all of us. We have to go out there and find our inner voice, find our dreamer, look at our dream, fulfill it, work hard towards it with our full dedication, hard work, and truly nothing is impossible. It's I am possible. So the world is your oyster.
It's a good message. You've clocked up 10,000 odd hours up in the sky. Out of all of that time you've spent up there, what's your favorite story from the cockpit?
Oh, I have many. Oh, I'm like, I can probably, we can sit down for the next 3 days, I think. So let's start with one. Okay. So in 2015, this one is close to my heart because it involved saving a life, which is pretty rare, because a lot of times when these kind of things happen to us, any medical emergency, a passenger, a lot of times, you know, may not make it. So this one is very close to my heart because we had a passenger who survived. So in 2015, I was flying from Delhi to New York, JFK, and taking off from Delhi, really, really tremendously bad weather, like lightning, rain, you name it, you have it, you know. And that was the day when we were faced with a sick passenger post our 1 hour into the flight. And I was flying over Pakistan, and Pakistan and India, well, we have our share of tensions, so to say. So the doctors told me that this lady is not going to survive unless she gets medical attention soon. So I had a couple of choices. Either I could go to Lahore, which is politically unwelcoming, and it was filled with its own doubts, because even if you go somewhere which is very close to you, if you can't get the passenger the medical attention she needed, it's null and void. It's of no use. So you have to, as a captain, you have to think about every single practical scenario, which eventually has to be favorable. So, and then if I went back to Delhi, I had a very, very heavy airplane with me. I had a 352 tonner with me. And I had an Olympic size pool, full of fuel on board my airplane, which I couldn't land back with since it was raining heavily and so on and so forth in Delhi. So I had to make a tough choice. And I decided to go back to Delhi. And you know what? You get like microseconds to think this. You don't have the luxury of time, and you don't have the luxury of a bad decision. You have to come up with the correct decision every single time. You're trained to do that over a period, when you are in this place. So I turned my airplane back 180 degrees to Delhi, and we requested for jettisoning over Pakistan airspace. Normally, well, it would be a tough task to get everything approved. But that was the day I requested. I went on the radio communications myself. I said, sir, we need your help, because if you help us today, you'll be able to save a life along with us. And you know what? Positivity attracts positivity. It's always, I feel it always works like that. And he said, he came back to me after a few minutes and he said, yes, you're good to go. Because of their help, we just dumped out all the fuel, jettisoned, like threw out literally 100 tons of fuel in the air. And we were able to make it back into Delhi. And we had to change the runway 3 times because of the bad weather, but we still made it back, and we got the passenger the medical attention she needed. So the story didn't end there. After that, I was the youngest crew member, and I had to convince all my other crew members, my cabin crew, my cockpit crew, and everyone, that I request you to operate along with me to New York again, because we had 350 passengers. We had a full flight. And my airline, my company, had already got a lot of financial hit because of the 100 tons that I already threw out of the airplane. I did not want my organization to get further hit by that. So I was thinking from a financial point of view as well. Because if you have to delay the passengers' plans, the 350 passengers, imagine, booking them on some other airline, the cost, it was like, I didn't want to go in that direction. So I requested all of them, can you please help the airline out? It's a humanitarian thing. And guess what? Positivity attracts positivity. It happened. So they all stood behind me, and we did it. Now the third challenge awaited. It was a day of challenge. It was so much fun. So my third challenge was how I just threw out 100 tons of fuel. Now I was falling short of 1 ton to take off for New York, because the shortcuts of the routings that are available in the night, by that time it was already morning and they were not available anymore to me. So I was falling short of 1 ton, and I just throw it away 100 tons. Imagine what an irony life throws at you. So thinking outside the box, I decided that maybe we can start the engines of our 777 next to the runway. And that's exactly what we did. We got the approval. Third time, positivity attracts positivity. It is impossible to get the permission to start engines next to the runway in a busy airport like Delhi in the peak morning time. But we got it. Somehow so I'm telling you, you be positive, and the universe acts with you. It's amazing, the power of positivity. So we started our engines of this behemoth of a 777 next to the runway, and we took off for New York. And when we landed in New York, we came to know that this passenger also survived post her treatment. And we were so grateful to the Almighty. So it's quite an interesting story, because it just involved a challenge after challenge after challenge and overcoming it. Because you know what? When you overcome a challenge, the view is always best from the top.
It's a great story. Thank you for sharing it with us. So at this point, I would like to invite the AeroTime Chief Executive, Richard Stevenson, to join us. as he has an announcement to make. Richard, over to you.
Martin, thank you. And Zoya, thank you very much again for being here today and for joining us and for sharing your thoughts, sharing your stories and sharing your inspiration with us all. I mean, both from you today and also from 8-year-old Zoya, because I think that 8-year-old Zoya has an awful lot to be thankful for. And I think that 8-year-old Zoya has achieved more than she could ever possibly have dreamed back when she was doing that dreaming that you've told us about today. And I know that I speak on behalf of everybody here at AeroTime, everybody at Air India, and also the wider industry, in wanting to acknowledge your contribution to promoting diversity and inclusion across aviation, and also for everything you do to encourage the next generation of aviators. And we've heard you talk very passionately again about a lot of that today. So it's with all of that in mind that it is my very great pleasure to virtually present to you with an AeroTime Aviation Achievement Award. So this
my
award,
God. Can I take a picture of this?
you can take anything you like, and I'm gonna send it to you very, very shortly. But go on, take the photo and then I'll carry on.
Yes. Oh my God, that's so sweet. Thank you so much.
Well, so
In India, we do this. Thank you.
Let me explain that this award is made by the global executive of AeroTime, and I'm going to read to you the citation on the certificate. It says, in recognition of her role as the captain of the first all-female crewed Air India flight on the 9th of January 2021, flying from Bengaluru to San Francisco, for her dedication and commitment to her work and for promoting equality in aviation, for her encouragement and support of the next generation of women to pursue their dreams, the AeroTime Global Executive Committee recognizes the positive influence of these efforts and the significance of the impact on the aviation industry and its people, both today and into the future. So Zoya, congratulations. I can tell you that this was one of the easiest decisions that the global executive team of AeroTime had to make. And I'm just really sorry that we can't meet in person right now, so that I can hand over the certificate and the trophy that will go with it. But I can promise you that it's going to be winging its way to you very, very soon. And we all hope that this will serve as a constant reminder of the gratitude of so many people, both today and into the future. I'm quite sure there's so many people who will owe you a debt of gratitude, but they don't even realize it yet. But in the future, I'm sure that they will. But we hope that this will serve as a reminder of that gratitude for many, many, many years to come. So thank you so much for everything you've done and for everything you will continue to do. And everybody here at AeroTime will continue to support you, and we look forward to working with you. So thank you and congratulations.
Absolutely, Richard. You know, it's my pleasure to be able to be on a platform to encourage my future dreamers, you know, the future of this world. I think even if you change one life in this world, you know, I think your work on this planet, on this beautiful Mother Earth is done. And we changed one life at a time. And now I'm so happy to be able to work together with you, to be able to change it more impactfully and to have a farther reach, because that's what life is all about, making impact, you know, to leave the footprints on the sands of time when we are gone, right? And I'm just so touched for your award. I mean, I was so not expecting all this at all. It's just very heartwarming for me. Thank you. I really wish from the bottom of my heart I could be there in London to meet you guys, but I'm sure I will be. It's only a pandemic and we will be back there. I'm absolutely sure of that. How I was talking to Martin earlier about the power of positivity. You have to think it and, you know, it will happen. Like I was telling him, both my parents are COVID, they're battling COVID right now as we talk. And, you know, it's that positivity that will always carry us through every situation, which will fly us through every situation. And I'm sure we'll all see each other And I'm so looking forward to working with you because we have a lot of work to do. We have to raise that percentage of 5% to 50. We have to attach a zero with a value, and we have to do it together. So I'm looking forward to having that mission accomplished in future. I never really realized, I was telling you earlier in New York when I was talking to you, that this flight, how this would impact so much of youth in so many ways, you know, like, for example, the kind of messages that I get, the DMs that I get are so impactful. In fact, I'll share some screenshots with you, you know, they're so heart touching, because when you read those kind of things, how you touch people's lives, it is almost surreal. I can't believe it, because I thought it was just a flight over North Pole, which is going to be good to save time, to save money, to reduce the carbon footprint. But that was just one good. This is doing so much more good in so many ways. And it's not only limited to a country of 1.6 billion. It is the whole world, you know? So it's the whole world we have to impact on. We have to change it. And I am happy that I've found partners with you guys in doing so.
We're delighted too. And we're really looking forward to doing it. There's so much we can do, as you say, and we'll get cracking. But congratulations on your award. And now I'm gonna hand back to Martin.
Zoya, thank you for joining AeroTime today. Great story, really fascinating to hear the details of that story. And that brings us to an end of this AeroTime interview, but we will be publishing a range of articles and interviews marking this week to recognise and celebrate the contribution and success of pilots in our sector. Thank you for joining us. My name is Martin Popplewell, and you've been watching AeroTime. Goodbye.